MTG Scoundrels, it's in the cardboard. Ladies and gentlemen, scoundrels of all ages, welcome back to another episode of Modern Weekly. Today on the docket, we have Eldrazi Agro versus 5-color Omnath. In this case, having Karuga as the companion. Two lists that have fallen off the modern metagame a little bit, but Eldrazi Agro with Modern Horizons 3 coming out probably get a boost. Looks like we're starting Eldrazi Temple into Eldrazi Mimic, a card we haven't seen for a bit. There's the Flooded Strand and a pass. There's this power plant into an endless one. X equals 3. An attack for 3 off the ability of the Eldrazi Mimic in passing the turn. Looks like we have a fetch on the end step here. Untapping and drawing. And another fetch here for an untapped Steam Vents. Into a Scion of Draco. Urza's Tower into a Relic of Progenitus. And a pass of the turn. Another fetch here for the 5-color player. Finding a Plains. Into a Teferi the Time Raveler. Teferi Time Raveler. Bouncing the Mimic to hand, drawing a card, and passing the turn. Looks like on the end step, cracking the Relic to draw a card. Not too worried about graveyard hate here. There is an Urza's Saga. Into a Reality Smasher. Reality Smasher attacking the Teferi Time Raveler, taking it off the board, and passing the turn. There's a Breeding Pool, sending us to 20-10. And casting the One Ring and attacking for 4. Activating the One Ring, drawing a card, and passing the turn. as another power plant into an Eldrazi Mimic. Looks like accidentally overpaying for it here. Not too big of a deal though. Still has mana up for the Urza Saga. Alright, tapping the One Ring here to draw 2 more cards. Took a damage off it at the beginning of the upkeep. Sitting at 16 to 9. There is another fetch land. And attacking for 4 with the Scion of Draco. Putting us at 12-9. Then casting another copy of the One Ring. On the end step here, the Eldrazi player making a construct. In the upkeep, then draws. Oh, excuse me, not in the upkeep. Draws, then makes another construct. We'll see what they find off of the Urza Saga's final chapter here. Looks like it is an expedition map. A little confusion on when when the Eldrazi player wants to crack the expedition map here. It looks like they've chosen to get an Urza Saga down instead, and then crack the map. Yep, cracking the map. Probably finding the missing Tron piece here. Sequencing in this deck can be a little difficult. At what point does having Tron matter over not having Tron? Or keeping an artifact on the board to keep the construct larger. And speaking of which, casting a Chalice on 0 here. Doesn't really have the mana currently to make that Chalice large enough to matter too much. So putting it on 0 gets us where it needs to go in terms of just pumping up some power and toughness. Looks like we got a fetch, went for a hedge maze, surveilled, untapped, drawing a card, taking 1 off the One Ring once again. Another fetch here. Finding a forest. This is an interesting spot. You always wonder when they want to use these fetches once they hit a certain mana count. Because speak of the devil, looks like they're tapping 4 mana. Oh, nope, this time for another One Ring. And attacking for 4. And then playing another Scion of Draco. It's always an interesting spot trying to time your fetches with your Omnath. Looks like they discarded hand size here. And this is an interesting spot. It's currently 8-6, lethal on the board for the 5-color Omnath player with 2 Scions of Draco. Two 4/4 flyers. And because of the new One Ring, they have protection from everything. Looks like, being that Tron is online, that'll be a Karn the Great Creator. Looks like activating the One Ring in response. Minusing the Karn. I would assume grabbing your own One Ring here would be the best move, and yes it is. Grabbing the One Ring, casting the One Ring. That'll at least fog for a turn here. And a pass of the turn. Taking one. And the Scion attacking the Karn the Great Creator. And there's the deck's namesake, Omnath, Locus of Creation. Drawing a card off ETB, gaining 4 life off the land being played. Fetching here. Finding a Sacred Foundry, going back down to 6 after it being at 9 momentarily. Netting 1 life. And there's the Teferi Time Raveler once again. This is the loop that makes this deck very strong. Still has mana off of the Teferi, or off the Omnath from the fetch land, finding the land to ETB. Activating the One Ring, and then returning the One Ring to hand and replaying it to regain protection for a turn. Another discard to hand size. Looks like that was a Leyline of the Guildpact. Card making waves in Modern. A lot of people thought it was a do-nothing. But it definitely has been. Turns out having your mana fixed on turn 0 is pretty good. Looks like the Eldrazi Agro player floated mana off of the Urza's Saga and is now searching, finds the expedition map off the final chapter of the Urza's Saga. Well, another precarious position. Yep, there's the Karn the Great Creator. There's step one into finding a way out of this. The 5-color player activating the One Ring response. And yeah, that is a portal to Phyrexia. That'll do it. Doesn't say target opponent, it says each opponent. Sacrifice 3 creatures. All right. And just to make sure the Teferi leaves the battlefield here, attacking with 2 creatures at it and passing the turn. Didn't want to get blown out by a Solitude there. Turns out in a rhinoless world, Portal to Phyrexia is in a pretty decent spot to pull out of the sideboard. Make him sack 3 creatures. Alright. To rebuild the board, that's one of your best options. Omnath, Locus of Creation. There's a fetch land, gaining 4 life once again. Sacking the fetch land. And it looks like finding a basic land there. Sending us to 7 to 8. And another Teferi Time Raveler. That's what you want. Minusing the Teferi, bouncing the One Ring to hand, drawing a card, replaying the One Ring. And then Leyline binding, targeting the Portal to Phyrexia. Well, it had to be practically exactly that, didn't it? Currently 6 to 8. There is another Urza's Tower. No issues with mana here. And yeah, that is an Ugin the Spirit Dragon. And if the Eldrazi player minuses 6 here, yep, looks like that's the case. Clearing out the board, bringing the portal back. And minusing the Karn here would be my guess. Finding the stone brain. Don't think... Yeah, I believe they still have protection here, so this might be a misplay. I don't think either of them realize it. This is what happens when game 1 goes 20 minutes. You see this many one rings. Probably inconsequential here, but... Wow. Alrighty then. We'll see what they ended up naming here. Yep. Went and named to find the last Teferi Time Raveler to stop those shenanigans. Like we mentioned, rather inconsequential ultimately here, considering the board state. Well, there is another Omnath. Drawing a card. Do we have another land drop here? No, looks like we have a Beseju targeting the portal to Phyrexia. Finding a forest off the Beseju. There's a Scion of Draco. Activating the One Ring. Untapping, taking 2. Going down to 4. Activating the One Ring again, drawing 3 more. Another tower for turn. Alright, upticking the Ugin. Playing a Thought-Knot Seer. Score should be 4-5 here. We apologize. There's a Leyline binding. Targeting the Thought-Knot Seer. No, targeting the Reality Smasher, excuse me. And a Solitude. Targeting the Eldrazi Mimic, gaining 4 life here. Going to 8-5. Choosing the Solitude out of the hand, exiling it. There's another Reality Smasher. Only 2 blockers here. Three creatures being 5/5s. Upticking the Karn, targeting the Expedition map, and attacking with everything. And that should do it. Moving on to game 2. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have been enjoying our content here on the channel at MTG Scoundrels, please like and subscribe. Sideboarding decisions here, wouldn't be surprised if the Eldrazi Agro player, if they haven't already, would be moving Dismembers in or other cards to be able to remove creatures. Maybe removing the Graveyard Hate. 5-color Omnath, of course, probably bringing in more removal. As always, in the description below, you can catch deck lists as well as timestamps to be able to move to the next game a little bit faster. All right. Looks like both players have made mulligan decisions. I believe both are on 6 here. Fetch land and pass. Power plant and a map and pass. Activating the fetch land. Finding the Untitled Triome. As is tradition. Fetching again. Finding the missing colors and casting a Leyline binding on the Expedition map, hoping to slow down the mana of the Eldrazi Agro player. There is the tower. Into an Eldrazi Mimic and pass. So far, that Leyline binding looks like a smart decision. And there is a Teferi Time Raveler bouncing the Eldrazi Mimic, drawing a card. There's a Pithing Needle. And replaying the Eldrazi Mimic. The Pithing Needle probably naming the One Ring here. And there is a Force of Vigor, taking out the Pithing Needle and the Urza Saga. After putting the Karuga in hand. There's an Expedition map attacking the Teferi with the Eldrazi Mimic. Alright, no land for the 5-color player here. Looks like cracking the map. And finding the missing Tron piece. Oop. Sorry about that, folks. Attacking for 2. And passing. There's a Flooded Strand. Cracking it. Finding the planes there, bringing us to 20 to 13. And playing the One Ring. There's a Karn the Great Creator. Activating the One Ring in response. Minusing the Karn here. And here we'll probably see one of the more powerful things you can do with Karn the Great Creator. In a timely fashion, of course. Yep, there's the liquid metal coating. Looks like activating it in the upkeep. Looks like targeting one of the triomes more than likely, so that way it can't be used. This is a pretty strong spot. Means this can't be an Omnath into a land into more mana turn. Fetched, went down to 20 to 9. And there's the Omnath. Drawing a card. And passing. Oh, and there's the Dismember. Great answer to Omnath here. Uptaking the karn after activating the liquid metal coating to destroy the land. Tapping 5 mana. There's a Reality Smasher, making the Eldrazi Mimic a 5/5. Going to combat, swinging for 10. And there's the Solitude. Exiling the Reality Smasher. Taking 5, gaining 5 here. Taking another one off the One Ring in the upkeep. Casting another Omnath, seeing if they can find a land. There's a land, bringing it to 21-7. Fetch in here, bold move. Bringing us back to 21-4 with the fetch shock here. And besiegeing, or was that a, no, excuse me, that was a Force of Vigor with the extra mana made off the Omnath. Taking out the liquid metal coating. Minusing the karn. Well, that's one way to do it. Find a Wormcoil Engine. Play a Wormcoil Engine. Make the Eldrazi Mimic a 6/6. And attack in. Omnath will block. Pass the turn. Can't draw a card off the One Ring here. Will take 1 damage off of it. Play another Omnath. Playing all the outs, drawing a card. Doesn't find the land. And scooping them up. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe. Catch us next week for more modern action. Thank you again. Have a great week.